Namaste. Today I'd like to speak with you about what is probably my greatest interest in life, and that is Siddhas, saints, and sages throughout the ages. My wife Tara and I have spent our entire adult lives learning about these great saints. For me, it began in junior high school. Because I'm American and I grew up in a Christian family, my first exposure to saints was Christian saints. And I was very attracted to their purity, their devotion, their sanctity. And then as I got older, I started learning about great saints from the East, great masters of wisdom from places like India, Nepal, Tibet, Bhutan, and China. And I started reading more and more about them. One of the earliest books that really inspired me was The Play of Consciousness by Baba Muktananda. That book really introduced me to Siddhas and the wisdom of the Siddhas. And then there were so many more. My first teacher was Maharishi Mahesh Yogi. Now, many of these teachers who you see here, many of them, the really famous ones that most Americans have heard of, or people in the West, people like Paramahansa Ramakrishna, or Ramana Maharshi, or Shirdi Sai Baba, or Sri Aurobindo. Many of those teachers never left India, and yet their disciples did. For instance, Maharishi Mahesh Yogi's guru was Brahmananda Saraswati, the Shankaracharya of Jyotirmath. That is in India and in Hinduism the equivalent of being the Pope of Northern India. Now, Brahmananda Saraswati never left India, but Maharishi Mahesh Yogi traveled around the world for many decades, and he trained 40,000 students, of which I was one. And to date, about 10 million people have learned transcendental meditation. Muktananda was similar. His guru, Baba Nityananda never left India, but Muktananda spread the teachings all around the world. Now, there's one thing that's very important to know about great enlightened masters. You can't judge them by outer appearance. They're very different, very different. Some are celibate. Some are householders. Some live in solitude, either deep in the jungles or high in the Himalayas. And others live in society and mingle with the masses. Some have long hair and some are bald. Some are skinny and some are fat. So it's a mistake to judge them by their outer appearance. Enlightenment, self-realization, God consciousness occurs within. It exists within consciousness, not the physical nature of the person. So it's very important not to judge enlightened individuals in that way. Now in India, there are some great masters who don't even speak. They take a vow of silence. And yet, millions of Indians will travel the length or breadth of India to go be with them for just an hour, even though they don't speak. They're not expecting to hear them speak. They just want to see them. And that's called darshan. Darshan means to see. You could go travel to Mount Kailas and see this sacred mountain, and you receive a transmission. There's a transference of energy, of Shakti. Or you could go to a temple and have darshan of a deity and also experience a transmission. Or you can go meet an actual guru who's enlightened and receive a transmission of energy. Now, one thing that is extremely interesting is that many of these great enlightened masters said, when I am no longer in the physical body, I will be able to help you even more because I will not be limited by the constraints of my physical body. This is why we have this altar in our home temple, because we feel a connection to each of these great masters. Now, you may not want to have an elaborate altar like this in your home. You may choose just to have a picture of one enlightened master who you feel a connection with. It could be Jesus. It could be Shiva. It could be a goddess like Durga, Lakshmi, Saraswati, or a female teacher like Anandamayi, who was born in God consciousness. She never had a human teacher. Many of these women actually had a very profound effect upon some of the greatest masters who you have heard of. For instance, Ramakrishna. Ramakrishna, at a certain point, for 18 years, he had been doing intense sadhana. His goal was he wanted to have darshan of the goddess Kali. And after 18 years, he felt he hadn't advanced. He hadn't developed any closer to his goal of having darshan of Kali. And one day, he was on the verge of suicide. Suicide. Paramahansa Ramakrishna. He took a sword off the wall of the temple and he was about to plunge it into his heart. And right then there was a knock on the door of the temple and a tantric yogini had come and she taught him and he attained darshan of the Divine Mother in the form of Kali. Another good example is Hazrat Babajan. Hazrat Babajan knew that she was destined to encounter Meher Baba. And she moved to an area of Pune specifically so that they would cross paths. And one day he rode by on his bicycle on his way to school, and she motioned for him to come over. And she kissed him on the third eye. And he attained God consciousness. So many of these women, although we may not hear about them that often, attained full enlightenment. Hazrat Babajan was a Siddha, and many of them were instrumental in the men who we have heard of attaining enlightenment. So for many years, people have heard about the teachings that Tara and I do around the world. We've given over 600 free seminars on the great saints and siddhas. Many people have written to us, people from Australia, virtually every country in Europe, South America, Canada, Asia, and they have said, would you please make your teachings available on the internet? And we've always said, eventually we will. So now the time has come. We are developing right now a course, a video course. Each video will be on the life of one of these great saints. And that will be available very soon. So this video that you're watching now is kind of a sneak peek into what's coming. Our first course on the lives of great saints, siddhas, and sages throughout the ages. We're very happy to be creating this. And the real purpose for creating this course is that Tara and I feel passionately that it's essential for people all over the world to learn about the lives of these great saints, because they attained the pinnacle of the evolution of human consciousness: enlightenment, self-realization, God consciousness. They are the superstars of humanity. And when you learn about their lives, you discover what your true potential is as a fully enlightened, radiant being of infinite intelligence, creativity, love, and compassion. Namaste.